Everyone. Welcome to the Minds Exchange Session 2. My name is Shropa, and I'll be the chair for this session. I'll briefly describe how the Minds Exchange session will run. So this will be a virtual poster-style session where we have invited individuals from around the world to share with us an initiative, experience, or idea. So these presenters will give 3-minute presentations that will each be followed by a 3-minute question period. And once all presenters are done, we'll also open the floor for a general question and discussion period. We have 2 breakout rooms today, one for creative thinking and one for interventions and skills.
All right, thank you so much everyone for joining. Just read a brief introduction to this session, and I will be introducing our speakers for today's Minds Exchange session, Creating Thinking. So hello everyone, my name is Sasha and I will be the moderator in this breakout room for the posters in the creative thinking category today. We have 4 presenters and I will introduce our first speaker, João. Please go ahead and take away.
Hello. First of all, I would like to thank all the organization for all the support, all the patience, and also saying that I'm very overwhelmed with all the quality of the conference, especially with the talk by Dr. Kate Hall. It was I'm still mind blown by the. It was a superb talk. So today we are here to talk about fostering mental wellness in academia, the innovation of a university mental health cafe. My name is João Miguel Alves Ferreira. I'm a molecular and translational neuroscientist candidate at the Faculty of Medicine of the University of Coimbra, and let's do it. So at first, I romanticized the idea that we would call ourselves the Coimbrinhas Dead Poet Society, but we cannot properly say that we already have a name. All this started as not something serious, but it has gained some seriousness as the time goes by. So in the bustling and demanding landscape of academia, students often find their mental health overshadowed by the rigors of academic life. However, in response to the pervasive pressures of university life, a proactive student embarked on a personal, innovative journey to prioritize mental well-being. By founding a mental health cafe as a refugee for open dialogue, students convened to share coping strategies amidst the stresses and anxieties of their academic pursuits. So this initiative transcended traditional norms by incorporating music therapy sessions, where participants discovered solace in the emotive power of melodies, fostering camaraderie and providing relief from stress. Additionally, we also implemented outdoor mindfulness garden sessions. It's somewhere around the photo you can see on the right, where we offer the serene environment for meditation amidst the natural beauty of Coimbra, the central city in Portugal, where we further enhance mental resilience. This case study illuminates the transformative impact of thinking outside the box in mental health care, reshaping the academic environment into a sanctuary where creativity and solidarity foster mental wellness. This grassroots endeavor not only empowered individuals, but also sparked a ripple effect, advocating for compassionate support throughout the academic community. And important to notice that music therapy sessions and mindful garden sessions, we can also refer to them as different types of social prescription. Throughout creative solidarity and shared commitment to holistic wellness, the academia and campus that we have reached underwent a profound transformation, becoming nurturing environments where students could thrive both academically and emotionally. We have finished, but just to disclose this detail, this photo is the highlight, the beginning of all this project, where we get ourselves together and form the group that we haven't yet called Coimbrinhas Dead Poet Society, but we are thinking about it. Because of an initiative from the Nursing Mental Health Society of Portugal. They start a context, and we have to create a motto for our personal initiative that will be give mental health a chance, think outside the box. And the box says mental health, and there's some crazy guy with the head outside the box. In this were the photo with that we submitted to the competition. And that's it. Any question? I'm here, and we are eager for some partnerships or that for someone that might help us to evolve all this project. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your poster presentation, and I will open the floor for questions. Feel free to type questions in the chat, or if you just want to have an open discussion, you also can unmute yourself or just raise a hand. Yeah, Vanessa, go ahead, please.
Hi, lovely presentation. I loved hearing about like what you have to offer, and particularly the photo. I was wondering if you could speak more about the music therapy sessions and the mindfulness garden sessions and what they would entail.
Okay, so you want me to describe what we do in those sessions?
Exactly, yeah. So is there like a specific program that you would follow or schedule? Like would these be like repeating sessions?
Okay, it just started with some informal conversation where we have think about create something that would take us from all the stress that we are always having in the med classes. So we start with a very small group with the friends that already knew each other. We created a WhatsApp group, and then the one friend called a friend that nobody knows, that is not in common. He enters the group, he calls another friend, so it start uh, the group start to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So we start to do some kind of what we like to call, it's something that it's nowadays being implemented also in Portugal, but is mostly known in the United Kingdom, that is social prescription. Where you can resort on some social approaches that can have the same effect in you that some kind of, for example, anxiolytic medication. So basically, we do in mindful garden sessions. Nothing is programmed because this is not even a pilot yet, a pilot study yet. We need help to to have some good qualitative studies, quantitative studies. We would like to have some kind of help or mentor that could help us that could guide us scientifically to operationalize the project. But mainly what we are doing is with the music therapy sessions and mindful garden sessions is just a way of how can I say it in English? It's just a way we find to break the ice among each other. There are people that we see every day in the hallways in the university, and we have the same course in common, but we have nothing else in common. And this gives us the opportunity to do something in common, break the ice, know each other, and it really makes a difference in our daily life.
Thank you so much for the discussion and the answers, and we can talk a little bit more in the end of the session. I think it's great points that the first talker gave us, and I really can emphasize with some of it. During my undergraduate studies, we also organized cinema club that helped, I guess, also break the ice amongst us as students. So I think this is a really great activity. Thank you so much, João. Now we're going to move to our second presenter, Vanessa. Please take away.
Hi, yeah, my name is Vanessa. I am currently a first-year master's student at the University of Toronto, and then currently I work at a lab at CAMH. So just as a brief introduction and for context, overall there are 87 student-led journals across all of U of T campuses, and currently they accept a wide range of writing, so academic and scholarly writing. Overall, if you're in the scientific field, you may know that publication is viewed as this gold sort of standard. So if you publish any scholarly articles such as like research, literature reviews, theoretical papers, and letter to editors, it's highly valuable. It's highly valuable, and student journals allow undergraduate and graduate students a low stakes opportunity to publish their academic work and gain experience within the review process of journals. So overall, I want to propose that student journals actually add a section to publish formal academic work outside of their current guidelines. This would allow for a more casual and lay sense of a scientific community. So similar to a science magazine where students can submit work that they do not think is as novel or as high quality enough. So some examples might include articles or topic critiques, commentaries, or general informative articles. Doing so would remove the barriers of students who are in years 1 to 3, who likely have not taken a thesis or independent study course yet. And I've experienced this firsthand through IMS Magazine, where they publish only professor interviews and pieces on student research and their opinions, as well as a summary of new topics in the scientific field. So for example, I recently wrote an article looking at the accessibility of mental health resources for queer individuals. And I think including these types of academic writing would encourage students to submit and get familiar with the peer review process. And even considering the idea would allow the journal teams to think about the limitations of their journal and how inclusive or accessible it would be to their students. Yeah, thank you so much for listening to my proposal. Was there any sort of questions or comments?
Thank you so much, Vanessa. I think it's a really amazing initiative that you're proposing, and I'm very excited to hear if there's any questions from the audience.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please, go ahead.
All right, perfect. I wanted to ask, because students doing this don't have previous experience with the peer review process, would there be some sort of like mentor or professor, or would the university be able to kind of like walk through them like on how to accept criticism and how to do the revisions and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so generally, as it's a low stakes journal, students are often walked through the review process, and it's as opposed to like an expert in the field who would be reviewing the journal. It's very much more so a peer-to-peer process where it's with another student. But yes, in general, if there's any issues with either the student who is reviewing the article or having the article reviewed, they would just contact the journal and see if they can get any help there. So it's very much a friendly and I would say, yeah, like student-based initiative where it's not as formal.
Got it. Thank you so much.
So Jalissa asked if the campus journals are mostly intended for undergrad students for publish, or are they also for grad students? So I'm a grad student and I am submitting to student journals, so JNS and Inkblot as well. But they were papers that I did write throughout the undergrad. And I would say that this initiative is definitely leading towards undergrad students because often undergrad students are looking to apply for master's or PhDs or medical school, and sort of the peer review publication process or having any publications or poster presentations is seen as like a golden standard.
Thank you so much for a great talk and discussion, and thank you all the speakers to being on time. I really appreciate this. And with that, we can move to our next presenter, Nelly. I'm going to switch the slide for you, and please go ahead.
Alrighty. So hi, my name is Nelly. I'm an undergraduate student at the University of Central Florida, and I'm doing an honors undergraduate thesis on coping with creativity, the relationship between depression and anxiety, and creative coping in college-age students. So this study aims to address the gaps in literature concerning how college-age individuals with the most common mental illnesses use creativity to cope. I specifically wanted to look at college-age individuals because this is the first time that those mental illnesses are tending to emerge. It's around the age group where those mental illnesses are emerging, and it's also around the time where people are encountering great stressors for the first time in their lives. So they're having to come up with coping mechanisms and figure out what they're working with. So that's why I chose specifically this population to look at. I also happen to have great access to it as an undergraduate student. So yeah, the study is currently in data collection. It's going to be, I just got through IRB, and it's going to be distributed as an online survey. It's going to include demographic and current mental health questions just to take into account if there were any previous diagnoses, Beck's depression inventory, and Beck's anxiety inventory. Because they measure mild, moderate, severe, they give me those categories to look at, and a coping skills list that I pulled together. Basically, I took a textbook or a book written by a therapist with the most common coping strategies such as grounding, journaling, and things of that nature. And I took the ICAA, which is an inventory of creative and achievements and accomplishments, and I adapted those to basically ask, like, how frequently do you do this activity and how effective it is at improving your mood, rather than just straight up asking, like, do you use this to cope? Because it's not, you won't get as good of as an answer with these things. So yeah, I have 4 hypotheses that I'm gonna look at: the influence of mental illness type on coping skills, just because I don't think somebody with anxiety is gonna necessarily be looking to go into theater to try and help cope with any form of anxiety and that kind of stuff. The influence of severity on mental illness on creative coping skills. There's a lot of theory and literature, but not a lot of actual physical evidence that those with moderate severity tend to be the ones that do more creative activities, just because if you're in the more mild category, the quote unquote normal things tend to work for you. But if you're in the more severe category, that's when you're kind of needing medication. You don't have the energy or the motivation or the ability to go out and do creative activities. So those in the moderate category are kind of left wondering, well, the normal things don't work for me, but I'm not severe enough to be put on medication. So they have to kind of think more out of the box on how do I need to cope with my symptoms, and how will the coping methods that I choose cover it. And then I'm going to be looking at the frequency of coping in the moderate severity, just because, again, there's a lot of literature suggesting that those in the moderate category are going to be the ones that are most frequently and benefit the most from creative coping, and the interaction between depression and anxiety. So if there's a multiplicative effect between having both depression and anxiety on how to do that, on the type of creative coping and that kind of stuff. And this just aims to help better informed clinicians suggest to clients different activities that they can do depending on the severity and the type of mental illness that they have. And that's the end of my presentation. If there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. I also have my contact, my Gmail on the screen. So if we don't get to them, you can always email me for that kind of stuff.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nelly. If there is anyone with questions, Vanessa, go ahead.
Hi, Nelly. Loved your presentation. I think this is actually a really important sort of bridge in the gap of mental health, because there are a lot of students who are on the sort of cusp of diagnosis of depression or anxiety. I wanted to ask, sorry, I was gonna ask, what were the um mental health illnesses that you were looking at, but then I see it's depression, anxiety. So are you only using the BDI and the BAI?
Yes, specifically just because it's an online survey and I don't have access to participants directly. I'm just going to be using the depression inventory and the anxiety inventory again, just because they give me the mild, moderate, and severe categories.
I see. So then what if students score, I guess, positive results on both inventories? So they're like on the cusp, sort of per se, for depression and for anxiety.
That's where I would be looking at the fourth hypothesis that I have there. If there's an interaction between having both depression and anxiety, and if there's going to be kind of like a positive or a negative outcome for it, will people who have depression and anxiety need to use creative coping methods just to have methods that cover both of them? Or will they be so depressed or so anxious, or if having multiple mental illnesses will hinder them from using creativity to cope?
I see. Okay, thanks.
No problem. Also, I really liked your presentation on the student-led journals because hopefully, if all goes well, this will be published in my university's student journal.
Oh my gosh, congratulations. That's very
Thank you.
exciting.
I appreciate it. But yeah, without that, I would have no publications. So we need student journals.
Amazing. I have a very short question, I guess, since we have a little bit of time. Do you expect people with more depressive symptoms to be coping with certain activities versus people with more anxious symptoms coping with different activities?
Yes, I do, and I'm glad that you brought it up. It's something that I usually present this at like conferences and things like that, so I had to shorten it a lot just to try and fit in the time frame. But one of the things that I normally talk about is there's a lot of writers who tend to have depression. There's a lot of literature suggesting that people who are depressed tend to write to be able to cope with it. So I do expect to see writing short stories, journaling, possibly a gratitude journal come up for people with depression. And for people with anxiety, I would think especially social anxiety, non-social activities. So things like drawing, art, things where you don't really have to interact with another person in order to do, and that can be kept private for the most part.
Great, thank you so much. Angelisa, we'll get to your question after your presentation.
Yes.
Sorry, I missed it. So yeah, let's go ahead to our last speakers. Thank you so much, Nelly, again. And I'm just gonna switch. So Angelisa and Haba, please. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. My name is Jaleesa, and I'm presenting this poster along with Heba. We're from the Women and Children's Health Sciences graduate program, or abbreviated to the WACH program at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver. And the WACH program is quite new, so we were part of the first cohort in the program that started in September 2022, but there are over 60 graduate students in the program now.
Yeah, so we have a WACH student organization, and which is called WACHSO, abbreviated to WACHSO. And Jaleesa and I created two wellness coordinator positions on WACHSO that we've held for the past 2 school years. And really, our goals as the wellness coordinators are to support WACH students holistically in the areas of social, physical, and mental well-being. For social well-being, as you can see on our poster, we ran a crafts and chats event where students could come do some origami or painting, as well as we served dinner, always important as a grad student to provide food. We also ran a games night that included various board and card games and a trivia game with prizes. We gave away wellness packages to attendees at the games night that included things like tea, hot chocolate, face masks, and shower steamers. And these social events really gave students in our program the opportunity to meet other students and get some social time with their peers outside of their lab that they are affiliated with.
For physical well-being, we started an annual event called Watch Us Move. So this is a week-long virtual event designed to encourage students to stay active in the winter months. So we ran it at the end of January and beginning of February, 2 years in a row. We had a daily physical challenge, such as do some resistance or strength training, and students could send in proof of completion for an entry into a raffle for some prizes that included a Lululemon gift card or a UBC water bottle, for example. And the second time we ran it, the events coordinators on WACHSO also ran an in-person event during the Watch Us Move week that got students doing some physical activity together. And we wanted this initiative to be inclusive to everyone, regardless of ability. So people could decide what their level of ability was when completing the challenges. For example, resistance training could mean doing some body weight exercises at home, or it could mean doing a heavy weight training session at the gym.
For mental well-being, we ran a Wellness Wednesday with WACHSO event that included a speed friending session with questions focused on mental health and well-being. We were able to get funding for this event through UBC. They have an initiative called UBC Thrive, which supports mental health and well-being initiatives that are going around on campus. Most recently, we actually had a bunny therapy event where students could pet and feed bunnies. And again, we really always just want to make sure our events are inclusive to everyone, so students could decide their level of comfort in interacting with the bunnies or even just getting the opportunity to chat with other students. Overall, Jaleesa and I are super, super happy and really, really are proud of kind of the program and the events that we've ran. Yeah, and we're really looking forward to taking any questions that you may have. Thanks for the platform for allowing us to speak on our initiative.
Amazing. Thank you both. And if there is any questions, I really enjoy the different initiatives that everyone's sharing today, and I think like it's great that people can maybe take some ideas away and hopefully implement some things in their respective institutions. Allison has raised her hand. Please go ahead.
Yeah, really great presentation and really amazing ideas. I mean, everyone, but also I guess specifically for Hiba and Jaleesa here. I guess my question for you is like, I'm just so impressed by how all-encompassing your programming is. I'm curious about, I guess, how you're able to sort of balance organizing all of those things yourself. And also like, are you running all of these things yourselves, or are you kind of outreaching and finding people to run your origami session? And when you're, oh my gosh, I really wish I could have gone to this bunny session.
We're very lucky that I think our role is embedded within the WACH student organization or the social organization. So we do have, luckily, people that are able to, when we need support, we'll call on them. So we're lucky to work with other really amazing people on the WACH team to support us. Like we mentioned, for the Watch Us Move, we had kind of the event coordinators that we did this event in part of. Yeah, so just in terms of, I think it was a big learning curve for Jaleesa and I to learn how to ask for help and kind of in these events. But again, we're just so lucky to have kind of that support structure to be able to reach out when we need help.
Thank you.
Thanks. I guess I have like a small question. What do you think was like the most impactful in out of the all different activities that you made, and which one was maybe the most like more people attended because it was like easier for them or more accessible?
Yeah, I would say the Watch Us Move event was actually one of our highest attendance events. And I think that's because it was a virtual event that people, I mean, I guess not necessarily an event, but a virtual initiative that people could participate in their own time. and we ran it through social media as well. So for participants to send in proof of completion of the activity, they could just DM the WACHSO Instagram account, or they could post it on their story and tag WACHSO, and then we would repost it to our story. So that also got other students involved to see what other people were doing throughout the week. So I think that was one that had good turnout. And then I would say also the bunny therapy had a pretty good turnout as well, for maybe some obvious reasons.
Awesome. Thank you all. And I think for now we can open the general question period. I will start with Jalisa's question for Nelly, I believe. So Jalisa is asking, wondering where you will be recruiting students from geographically. So I guess, is it just like a local undergraduate students, or like you have more like open recruitment phase?
That's a great question. The way that I'm doing it is through an extra credit system that my university offers. So there's this program called SONA, and basically anybody that's conducting research, professors, undergraduate students alike, submit any form of online research or regular research to that program, and anybody involved in a psychology course at the university where the course offers any form of extra credit can go into the SONA system, take the survey, or do the in-person study if that's what it takes, but mine is online. Do the online survey and receive extra credit for it for the classroom. So because I didn't have any form of funding, I tried to go that route. One of the good things about the University of Central Florida is they offer a lot of online programs. So even though geographically, physically, it is just in Orlando, Florida, I know there's a ton of online students at UCF, so hopefully I'll be getting people from all sorts of places, even though it will just be recruitment at my university.
Thank you. So I'll stop sharing the screen so everyone can look at each other a little bit. And awesome. I think I would like to maybe give like a small round of questions for everyone, and maybe a little incentivize a little bit of a discussion. So after like your pressure for presenting is kind of removed, like, and if you manage to listen to anyone else presenting, like what you guys feel like you could take away from other initiatives, and I'll just call one of you at a time, or if someone wants to start, like that's also fine, you just can tell me. Okay, I'll start with Jean. Go ahead.
Sasha, so you want me to ask a question? Sorry, I'm with not very good internet connection.
No problem. I'll repeat. I was asking you to share your impression of other presenters, and if
Okay.
there's any ideas that you learned that you're like, okay, I want to do this.
Especially the last presentation that was very connected with mine, but they are a lot more evolved, and I think that they put the level so high that will be very difficult for us to to follow it, but it gives us a lot of insights. Just one detail is all you are first place. I loved all the conference. It started with the Dr. Kate presentation. It was just mind-blowing, superb. It was amazing. Um, it was really top-notch, crazy presentation. Regarding all the presentations here, every presentation has something in common. Everyone is very uplifting with very positive vibes. Um, uh, there's a detail. I think all you are in the same meridian, so it's more or less noon there. Here is almost midnight, so you know that sleepy feeling starts to eat a lot. So, but I'm still uplifted. But no, I really liked all the presentations. I think that also the third presentation, all the scientific syllogism behind it, it's just superb, very good. Um, I think she will see some engagement to her survey. The second presentation about the journals is just amazing. Here in Portugal, there's another detail. All you are from major countries, big countries. Portugal is just one of the smallest countries in Europe. We don't have that kind of organization that I see all you have. But the part of the campus journals, I've never heard anything like that. It would be amazing to have something like that here, but I think we still have a long path to walk. But I would like to have more info, or maybe that she could give the name. 1 minute, Vanessa, right? It was Vanessa.
Mhm.
Okay, it's also a very known Portuguese name. It's a common Portuguese name, Vanessa. I would like for her to talk a little bit more about the student journals, because I've never heard of anything like it, and I would like to know, for example, if I'm Portuguese, I could write, for example, a text or a poem or something, or some more scientific, not so literary, some scientific, a neuropath mechanism, something. If I could publish with them, and how can I do it? How can I submit it? Do they have some kind of database where I can see all the journals? That's it.
Thank
Right,
you.
yeah, thank you so much, Xiao. Yeah, so U of T is a big school, as you know. And yeah, we do have a bunch of student journals, but I think the criteria is limited to only U of T students. So because they're trying to sort of increase the accessibility for their students and create opportunities for only their students. But yeah, I haven't heard of a journal where it's more so international, where it's geared towards student work, and it's not restricted to like a specific university. So that is something to consider, is like developing that.
Amazing. So some ideas to think about. Maybe Vanessa, you could also see if this kind of ideas could be something of interest. If you could continue maybe answering my question, but it's up to you, honestly. Like, how do you feel about other presenters' work? And maybe there is some ideas that you would feel like, okay, this is something that interested me.
Yeah, I was a big fan of Nellie's work. U of T also uses Sona as well, and I wasn't aware that there was like sort of a database where you can use already existing data that was collected previously. So that's also interesting to note. Yeah, in terms of improvements, like you said, you're planning to publish like within your student journal in Florida, right? So I guess how is that going, or how is the process with that? Because I haven't been aware of other student journals outside of U of T, because I did my undergrad and then I'm doing my master's at U of T. So I guess, is there any differentiation between like the Florida Student Journal? Is there anything specific or anything of note?
With the specific student journal, it's called STARS, the one that my university uses. The way that you get published through it is usually through the HUT program, which is an honors undergraduate thesis. So it's something that students who are interested in research in any major can elect to do. If they get accepted to that program, then they can start their research, which is why like I consider this my thesis, because that's the program that I'm in, even though like I'm working with an advisor because I've never done something like this before. But the way that it works is you take a course through that program, you begin to do your thesis with your thesis chair, and then once you collect data, have your thesis and defend it, you can put it up on the website to be published, and then it gets reviewed by a committee and that gets published in that student journal.
I see. So it's like a guaranteed like publication opportunity with like for thesis students, and is there any like review process?
There is a review process, which is why I'm not sure it's guaranteed, but because of thesis students having to go through a defense and having their thesis chair advising them. I would say that because of all that advising and because of all the help that we have, like I would be nowhere with this without my advisor, Dr. Saunders. Because of all the help that we have, it's kind of almost guaranteed because it's to that quality. It still gets reviewed and that kind of stuff. So it's still put up to like a rigorous standard. But because of the help that we have along the way, we tend to meet those standards.
I see, yeah, because I guess I was sort of proposing something where it's like students who don't even take a thesis course or an independent study course at the end of their degree, they can still have opportunities to publish. So often like course assignments will include things like, oh, critique this article or write a general summary on this topic and it's related to the course. So I guess that's what I was sort of proposing is having like these other opportunities for students to publish outside of just like academic articles or thesis topics.
I have a question for Vanessa. I think you mentioned during your talk, like the possibility of, for example, a student interviewing a professor about their experiences. And I was curious where you draw the line between something that would go into like a peer-reviewed journal versus just like a university newspaper or blog.
Yeah, so it wouldn't be considered like a scholarly article per se, but it would be like a special like part of the journal. So for example, like I was previously with U of T's Journal of Natural Sciences, and then as a part of the second issue, we had professor interviews, and that was really popular because it allowed students to see their professors in like a non-academic setting, so sort of outside of a course, and have them answer questions that like all students have, whether that be about their their course or their career or the research topic. So yeah, it would not be considered like a scholarly article like with a DOI per se, but it would still be like a publication opportunity.
Okay.
Sorry, I had a quick question. I'm curious, apologies, Vanessa, I'm not sure if you mentioned this, in terms of, for example, like processing charges or submission fees, is that kind of mitigated in the journals that you were proposing in your talk, or how do those come into play, or are there any support, like funding support, available for students who might want to submit to these journals?
Yeah, that's a good question. As far as I know, every verified or like vetted club within U of T gets a sort of like limit for funding. And then JNS is heavily supported by faculty supervisors, and then also like the U of T community in general and different departments. So yeah, funding is available. And then in the previous issues, we have been able to get like an official DOI and like issue number. So yeah, I feel like that has been super valued by students because they're able to put their like the DOI and the issue number, and it's like a proper looking citation as opposed to a student journal of natural sciences, for example.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. I think I still haven't asked the same question to Nelly. Like, can you give me a little bit of your impression of everyone's work?
Absolutely. I really enjoyed hearing about everybody's initiatives in the field of like creativity and that kind of stuff. Because whereas I'm trying to like conduct research and add to the literature, you guys are kind of like out there doing the legwork of like, okay, let's get things published, let's get people involved in creative tasks and things of that nature. Um, and I really like that. For the first presentation specifically, I know as a graduate student, it's difficult to try and find time to do anything, let alone put something together where you're meeting regularly to engage in creative activities just to take away from the stress of grad school and things of that nature. I work with a lot of graduate students because I'm a part of like labs and things of that, so I always hear grad school is not easy by any means. So I think taking that initiative and taking that first step and being like, okay, we're gonna come together, we're gonna create a WhatsApp group, we're gonna be doing these things to actually make sure people are involved in creative activities and to improve our mental health collectively. I think that's really, really impressive. For the second presentation, like I said, without my university's student journal, I would have 0 publications upon graduating. And I'm applying for clinical psychology PhD programs where having those publications is a really huge deal. This will actually be my second time applying for those programs because the first time I didn't have any publications, so I didn't get accepted anywhere. So I think bridging that gap, especially where you don't have to go through a specific program like mine to get a publication, because I've had to take time out of like coursework and other opportunities to engage in this one. And while I'm grateful for it, I'm like, I wish I could have done this without having this much workload on me. I think bridging that gap and being able to allow students to publish without having to do like that specific thing would be amazing, especially if you could get funding for it and make it look like a proper like citation. I think that would be wonderful. And for the last presentation, again, seeing the bunnies on the screen, I loved it. Yeah, it's taking creative ideas like having animals come into play or like sending home care packages. When I heard that, I was like, oh my god, that's a great idea. I should try and do something like that for my school or something of that nature, just because again, it's taking that first step, coming together, organizing anything. I can only imagine the level of planning and thought and that goes into this kind of stuff. So while I'm over here trying to like add to the literature on why we need creativity, you guys are kind of out here saying like we're engaging in it. And I really, really appreciate that and respect that.
Thanks so much. And Jalisa and Hiba, if you also want to a little bit share.
Sure, I'll go.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it was also great hearing from all the presenters, and then especially I think the music therapy and then the creative sort of coping, I think, are giving me some ideas for WACHSO events to run in the future, because we haven't done any events related to like music or writing or journaling. So yeah, I do have questions, but I'll let Hiba talk first.
I think, yeah, like echoing Jalisa's sentiments, it's like this opportunity was so lovely to just hear. I think it's amazing that there's like within this theme, it was so broad, because I think hearing about a diversity of kind of things that fit in within the scope of this theme was really, really interesting to me. And yeah, I agree. Lots to think about. So thanks everyone for bringing your time and energy. Super, super great group to be with here.
And Nelly, I do have a question for you about the creative coping and just kind of like, how did you define what activities you're asking about in terms of creative coping? Because I know you mentioned like journaling and drawing, but I'm curious if you even consider things like playing a musical instrument, for example.
Yes, that's a good question. I mentioned that I developed the creative coping questions list from the ICAA, but I didn't really go into it. I probably should have explained a little bit. But the ICAA, the Inventory of Creative Achievements and Accomplishments, is an inventory that's basically used to see if you're actually engaging in the creative activities you say. So it's like it asks questions about like, do you create new recipes? It goes through like about 8 different themes. So things like sports, cooking, things that wouldn't be traditionally considered creative, but it also includes traditional creative things like arts, um, theater, and that kind of stuff. And rather than taking the achievements and accomplishments part of it, I use those 8 themes to basically ask questions of like, do you engage in this theme in this way? Do you do this? So I know one of the questions that I asked is like, do you frequently come up with new sports moves, like if you play a sport or something like that? And I tried to keep creative coping very broad in my definition, just that way I could include as many things as possible under that umbrella, because I'm a big believer in creativity doesn't need to be defined just to the arts. It's something that's new and out of the box that works. And so I wanted to keep it as broad as possible. I also have a section at the end where I'm like, if I didn't ask a question about a specific coping skill that you use, can you please tell me what it is here? And can you please tell me how frequently you do it and how effective you would say it is? And when I ask about the effectiveness and frequency, I have it on a numerical scale. that way when I'm compiling the data and doing that kind of stuff, it's easier to analyze on my end.
Great, thank you so much for your answers. Yeah, I think like I can echo to a lot of things that you guys are proposing and discussing today. And yeah, I'm at a postdoc level at this moment, so like I've been through like the whole long journey of coping at different stages of academia, like including undergrad, as I mentioned, was one of our organizers of a cinema club, and I really echoed a lot with Joan's talk, because I feel like this kind of connection that you can create inside academia, but it gives you like this touch points with other individuals about things that you might enjoy that doesn't have to be anything to do with science, right? Like I see the person, and this person also enjoys these different things and aspects of life, and it's really, really helpful. And yeah, and same goes for grad school, where I discovered different things about coping and creativity. And I feel like movement and socializing and like sports like play a big role in maybe like alleviating stressors and things like that. So I feel like that's really great points that everyone made. And if there's anyone else has any questions at this point, with that, I guess we're gonna start wrapping up slowly. And thank you again so much for joining. And I really hope you guys manage to maybe contact each other afterwards, after the conference, and maybe keep in touch and maybe share ideas, ask questions. And I'm super happy, yeah, everyone got together today.